Hello, and thank you for joining me. Today I'm going to present you my work about associations between ASD-related traits and heart rate in typically developing children. The autonomic nervous system plays a key role in regulating basic bodily functions such as respiration and perspiration. Autonomic nervous system activity is commonly measured using heart rate, with lower heart rate associated with better health in adulthood. Autism spectrum disorder, ASD, is a neurodevelopmental disorder typified by social communication difficulties and restricted interest and repetitive behaviors. Individuals with autism show atypical autonomic responses, including elevated resting heart rate. Cardiac autonomic activity has been found to correlate with social deficits and restricted and repetitive behaviors. Milder manifestation of ASD-related traits have been found in the general population, but little work has examined how these traits relate to autonomic activity in typically developing children. The present study examines relations between baseline heart rate and ASD-related traits in typically developing children, with the goal of uncovering whether relations exist more broadly in the non-ASD population. The current sample included 11 3 to 10-year-old children, and data was collected in the Cognitive Development Lab at the College of Staten Island. To record cardiac autonomic activity, 3 ECG electrodes were applied to the child in lead 2 configuration, which means 2 electrodes on the collarbones and 1 electrode under the left rib cage. To measure baseline heart rate was recorded for 6 minutes while children listened to a story and watch a video. We also recorded heart rate during task, and heart rate was recorded during a task that examined attention shifting from social and non-social stimuli, and you can see examples of the stimuli below. Then, parents filled out questionnaires to assess their child's behaviors. They filled out the Social Responsiveness Scale 2nd Edition, School Age, SRS-2, to assess ASD-related traits. They also filled out the Repetitive Behavior Scale Revised, RBSR, to further characterize ASD-related traits through restricted and repetitive behaviors frequency and intensity. To analyze heart rate data, heart rate was averaged across the first 3 60-second segments of each phase. A second metric of change in heart rate across the study session was computed as baseline heart rate minus task heart rate, with positive numbers reflecting greater relative heart rate during baseline. To analyze questionnaires data, total scores of the SRS-2 and the RBSR were calculated. We ran correlation analysis, and we found a significant negative correlation between age and heart rate during task, as you can see in the graph below, but no relation was found between age and baseline heart rate. SRS-2 total score was not significantly related to heart rate during baseline or task. We calculated a change in heart rate score between baseline heart rate and task heart rate to examine relationships with the magnitude of change in heart rate. And we found a significant positive correlation between RBSR total score and the difference in heart rate from baseline to task, suggesting that greater drop in heart rate during task relative to baseline associated with more restricted and repetitive behaviors, as you can see in the graph below. Overall, no associations were found between heart rate and ASD-related traits. However, the magnitude of difference in heart rate between baseline and task was associated with restricted and repetitive behaviors, with typically developing children with greater decrease in heart rate during task from baseline showed increased level of restricted and repetitive behaviors. Studies have shown that decrease in heart rate is a marker of attention allocation. This may suggest that children in the current study who invested more attentional resources during the attentional task relative to baseline exhibited elevated levels of restricted and repetitive behaviors. More work is needed in order to understand the mechanism behind this. Data collection is ongoing, and future work will continue to examine cardiac autonomic activity and ASD-related traits in typically developing children, as well as a group of children with autism, to better understand the relationships between cardiac autonomic activity and ASD-related traits in the general population. Thank you for your interest in our work. Questions and comments are welcome. Please contact me, Sapir, in Hebrew or English, via my email or my Twitter account, and you can find the contact information on the slide. Thank you.